So with episode 2 Revenant coming out, we have already been gifted the new artifact, and essentially is going to be a very heavy stasis episode, really pushing into all those great mechanics that we have in stasis, especially since the fact that we've never gotten like a true stasis 3.0. Yes, we've gotten a couple extra fragments and stuff like that, but again, we haven't gotten like the big overhaul like we got for the original 3 light subclasses. So I wanted to go through a couple of weapons that I think are going to be really key this season, and that you're really going to see in pretty much everybody's loadouts going forward. Now, before we get into the video, know you can follow me on YouTube and Twitter at Birdman778. Please give a thumbs up on the video, comment down below if you like the video, subscribe, and become a member. Now, let's jump right on into it. Now, I want to first start off with the artifacts and highlight some big reasons why these stasis weapons are going to be really good, and essentially just like stasis subclasses, stasis builds in general. First up in column 2, one with Frost. While Frost armor's active, stasis weapons gain increased reload, speed, and stability, and stasis swords gain increased guard resistance. Obviously, that's just going to be really nice just to kind of keep up that really good flow, especially with, the stasis weapons that I'm going to be recommending for this build being the primary weapons that you should be using this season. Moving over into column 3, Wind Chill, rapid stasis weapon precision hits grant you a stack of frost armor. Obviously huge for just continuously giving you resistance, and then boost. Dealing stasis weapon damage to slow targets has a chance to spawn a stasis shard, obviously continuing to feed into that frost armor. Crystalline Converter, gather stasis shards to gain the stacks of Crystalline Converter. Your next powered stasis melee hit creates a stasis crystal equal to the number of stacks you have. Obviously, that's just huge in general because stasis shards are going to feed into that frost armor as well. And then the boost for it is stasis weapon final blows after activating your class ability spawn a stasis shard. Huge for like different things, like especially for like Titan, like Horror Frost is going to be a big one. Moving over to column 4, Armor of Aramis. While frost armor is active, taking critical damage from combatants causes you to emit a freezing burst, and their boost for it is increase the radius and strength of the freezing burst. Obviously huge for like melee centered builds or things like Icefall Mantle and stuff where you are going to go critical a lot of times. Having that, which you should always have frost armor active at the same time, is going to slow those targets around you, ensuring that they aren't going to be shooting you very much longer. Crystallized Auto Loader, shattering stasis crystals releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets, and then shattering frozen targets and stasis crystals deals increased damage. Huge. I think this is going to be like one of the best ones of the entire set, because so many of these weapons focus around creating stasis shards. You're essentially creating small war mines around the map that are going to just freeze targets, shatter them, and do increased damage. This one's kind of a really fun one that I like, that they added deliberating wave. Finishers emit a damaging wave that matches the element of your equipped super, and then while you have, again, stasis super equipped, that blast will apply slow around you, so that is going to be a really big one. Get ready to see another Severance Enclosure setup for me, like probably like the 10th one I've done, but God, I love that setup. And finally, in column 5, Brain Freeze. Frozen combatants become surrounded by a chilling fog, which slows combatants that aren't ready. Weapons with that Dark Origin perk as well will deal more damage to frozen combatants. Really big for just like, all around ad clear, and then slowing down targets. And finally, Serve Cold. Picking up a stasis shard grants you class ability energy. This is obviously going to be really big for, again, those Horror Frost, those Icefall Mantle setups that I really like to go into. And again, things like Hunter and everything like that, being able to take advantage of your, dodging and slowing targets around you all the time. For, Warlock being able to activate your Rift around you and slow targets around you. It's just going to be constantly keeping that up and ensuring that, enemies are not going to be moving all that much. Now, let's first start talking about some of the exotics I think are going to be big. First up is going to be Aegir's Scepter. Aegir's Call. Final blows of this weapon generate a slowing burst around the defeated targets. Obviously, that slowing burst is going to slow targets and everything, so it's going to constantly keep them in that frozen state. But then we have Rhaega's Refrain. Stasis final blows transfer ammo to this weapon's magazine from reserves. Obviously, really big because you're going to be constantly keeping that up. This has been always a really great ad clear weapon. I've loved this one in previous GMs as well. So I think this is going to be a really solid weapon. And obviously the Aegir Scepter Catalyst. Pressing your reload button will drain your super, overflowing the magazine, empowering the beam with bonus damage, and the ability to slow and freeze targets until the magazine or super runs out. Obviously, I really like this just for, you know, taking advantage of a little bit more weapon damage instead of having to pop your super, essentially turning it into like, I mean, this was kind of like the first like iteration of like still hunt, you know, using your something else to kind of like benefit from like big super damage. Next up is going to be the Verglass's Curve. Its ability Hail Barrage. Final blows of this weapon grant stasis arrows, and your next hipfire shot, fire all of them in a single volley. And then obviously that becomes that Hailstorm. Direct hits from the stasis arrow freeze combatants and slow opposing guardians. And stasis arrows on impact of the environment create stasis crystal, essentially giving you just free crystals all the time, just constantly, you know, just ping off like, you know, smaller like ad enemies and stuff like that. And you'll be able to like really juice that up. And then obviously just like freezing targets as well will immediately give you that Hail Barrage, that frozen arrow that you can take advantage of immediately after. And then obviously like the Catalyst is going to be great all the time. Freezing or slowing a target grants this weapon faster draw speed for a short time, so just keeping up that really fast flow. Next is going to be the Wicked Implement. Its creeping attraction, rapidly landing precision hits causes targets become slowed. Obviously, another one of those where just taking advantage of that slowing effect around targets is always going to be really nice. And then the Tithing Harvest, while creeping attraction is active, destroying stasis crystals or landing precision final blows creates a stasis shard, and the shard will return to you, and collecting the stasis shard refills the magazine. So obviously you have a lot of different ways to create stasis shards, especially with, you know, prismatic or just like stasis subclass in general, that you can take advantage of this and actually use the scout rifle sometimes in a little bit more of a close, you know, to medium range manner, and take big advantage of it. Obviously, I don't have the Catalyst right now, but that Catalyst is going to give it Headstone, and, you know, obviously Headstone is always going to be really solid for any stasis weapon. The last exotic I want to touch on is going to be Salvation's Grip. It's Cryo Cannon. You press and hold down your main trigger, hold the charge, and release to fire. The weapon's charged projectiles create a pattern of stasis crystals on impact and freeze nearby targets. Really big for like ad clear and especially bossing in general, just because a lot of those bigger bosses will take really big damage from having a lot of stasis crystals around them. And then obviously the Shatter Shot. This weapon's uncharged projectile deal bonus damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets, and rapidly destroying stasis crystals reloads this magazine from reserves. So you're essentially able to keep up that really good flow, not having to reload all the time. Essentially just, I mean, you can take advantage of like, even like this, you can throw out like a stasis, you know, wall grenade, something like that, and shoot it as well. Obviously, I always talk about Titan with like Hoarfrost. You can activate your barricade with that and take advantage of that. It has a lot of good uses here. Now, I want to talk really quick about a couple of legendary weapons that I think are really solid in stasis. First up is the Veiled Threat. This is from the most recent episode. It is a rapid fire frame. It is really solid. You're able to get some really good perks like Threat Detector and Headstone on it. So you're able to, you know, kind of keep up some really high fire, really great stability, and then take advantage of that Headstone perk to, you know, just shatter crystals. Obviously, Headstone's going to be huge. So pretty much any weapon that has that is going to be one that I'm going to recommend. Also, let's talk about the bold endings. This one is obviously from the final shape. You're able to just like, you know, go to Ghost in the Pale Heart and get plenty of, you know, red boards of this, activate it, so you're able to take advantage of that. Again, really big one that I like because of the fact it's got Headstone. It's a heavy burst frame, so it fires off 2 shots at a time, so it's just going to be really nice for just all around damage. And then I really like the fact that it has Demolitionist, so that I'm able to take advantage of my grenade more often, especially on Titan, taking advantage of that big stasis crystal wall grenade. The last weapon I really want to harp on is going to be the Slammer. I have an adept version. Obviously, you can use the regular, but that Cold Steel perk is a big reason why I like this. Power Sword hits slow targets. This essentially gives us intrinsic, unstoppable, and overload. So that you're able to, you know, just constantly hit a target. It'll slow the target. So let's say overload, hit them a couple times, and they immediately will be slowed. So then it'll activate that stun. But then on unstoppables, obviously, get a few more hits in, and then they will eventually just freeze, and then you can shatter them, causing that stun for unstoppables instead. Now, there's a lot of other, obviously, stasis weapons out there that I think are really solid. Again, I just really harp on the fact that anything with Headstone is going to be really big advantage to you, and then just obviously any way to just like constantly create crystals with your build is going to be a really big benefit, and constantly keeping you at the top of the fight. But thank you guys so much for watching. Again, comment down below some stuff that you are interested in using, whether it's stuff that I talked about or some other weapons that you like on the side as well. Again, I'm always open to hearing about all the other weapons and other things that maybe I should be trying later on in the season. But I do think this is going to be a really solid episode all around. I'm actually really excited, probably a lot more than I was for the first episode. I think I pretty much came off of like the final shape on a real big high, and unfortunately Echoes 1 was just like kind of like a like all around, but this one seems really cool, really metal, and I really do enjoy the fact that they're leaning into Stasis. I love Stasis so much. It's probably like one of my favorite subclasses in the game, so having one where they're kind of building more into that mono type rather than just like prismatic makes me really happy. But again, make sure you follow me over on YouTube and Twitter at Birdman778. Give a thumbs up, let me know something down below, subscribe, become a member, and guys, thank you so much. I hope you have a great night, day, or whatever it may be.